In FL Studio, the piano roll is our all-in-one instrument, as we can play different instruments just using the layout of the piano keyboard. So let's understand how the keyboard is structured. Open up the piano roll. Let me reset all settings to default. At a glance, you'll notice the piano is made up of a set of black and white notes. It shouldn't be anything confusing, as this set of notes repeat throughout the entire keyboard. It's just a set of 12 notes that repeat itself. So here's the set of white notes. And it just comes back to the C, and the set of black notes. In total, it makes 12 notes. So basically, we have a set of 2 black notes, then a big jump, and a set of 3 black notes. That makes up the 12 note that repeat itself. From C to another C is called an octave. And the only difference is the pitch variation. The pitch increases as it ascends. And the opposite is true. Let's talk about intervals. It's the distance between notes. From the note C to the nearest note is a semitone apart. But if we skip a note and go to the D, we are a whole tone apart or a tone apart. Let's do a quick recap. From the note D to the next note is a semitone apart. From D to the E is a whole tone apart or a tone apart. This concept is important because we'll be using the theory of tones and semitones to build our skill. Talking about scales are a group of notes that sounds musically good, which are arranged in ascending or descending order of pitch. In this tutorial, we'll just focus on the major and minor scale. To build the major scale, we'll use this simple formula. So if you choose any root note of your choice, let's do the C. You skip a note, so we go tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 and semitone, and it comes back to the root again. The root note of the scale is the first note of the scale and therefore the name of that scale. So here is the C major scale. And this pattern works for all 12 keys, so we can just move the entire thing to maybe F. And here will be our F major scale. Now let's look at the minor scale. This has a different pattern from the major scale. This scale is mostly used for emotional music because of its sad sounding vibe. So the pattern is you move a whole step, we go tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone. Like I said, this works with all 12 notes of the scale. Now let's look at the number system, but we'll come back to relative minors to show the relationship between the major and minor scales so that you don't have to memorize everything. You just have to know one scale and you can transpose it into the minor key or other major keys. So each note of the scale have a numerical value. We count ascendingly from the root note, which is the first note of the scale. So we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to the root again, which is the 1. But one thing in FL Studio is that you don't have to memorize this scale. You can label the keys from the menu here. And then you can do scale highlighting from the scale highlighting menu. Select the scale, which is the major pattern we have laid down, and the root note, which is C. The deep gray notes are the notes that don't belong to the scale, so we just leave them out. We only work with the light gray notes, which are the notes of the scale. Well, to make it visible enough, you can create a ghost note of the scale in the sampler channel. Just hit the stamp icon. From the melody scale, select your scale, which is the major. Go back and uncheck only one, as this will make you repeat the note of the scale on the piano roll. Select any note, and the note of that scale will be selected. Let's select the C and every other C note. So if you open up your VST channel, you have all these ghost notes. If yours doesn't show, you can hit alternate plus V to reveal the ghost notes. Now you can basically click in note of the scale to make a simple melody. Now let's talk about the relative scale. We've looked at the major and minor scale, and now we'll be looking at the relationship between the major and minor scale, which are relative to each other. Every major scale shares same notes with a relative minor scale and vice versa. So if we have a major scale, all you do is count 3 semitones down. The note you arrive at is the relative minor of the major scale. This means they share the same note of the scale. So 3 semitones down brings us to A. So if I change the scale to A natural minor, you can see that the note of the C major is the same as the A minor. The only difference is the starting point of the notes. With the C major, we begin on the C, but with the A minor, we start on the A. So we can just quickly rearrange them. Let's do another one, and then I'll show you a practical example why knowing this concept is handy. Let's select a scale, G sharp minor. From minor to major, we go 3 semitones up. So B is the relative major of the G minor scale. Let's quickly check that out. Change it to major. You see that it belongs to that scale. Now we can rearrange the note and then start on the B note. Here's why the concept is important. You can quickly modulate from a major to a minor key. So let's say we have 2 samples in different keys. The first sample is in A major and the one below is in D minor. If I play them, you'll notice they are out of tune and don't work together. So to fix this, we will make them belong to the same key, either a major or a minor key. So let's just make them belong to the minor key. Let's turn this A major to its relative minor. We learned that from major to minor, we go 3 semitones down. With the pitch knob, minus 300 cents equals 3 semitones down. If this is the A note on the keyboard, if we move 3 semitones down, this brings us to F sharp. So the relative minor of the A major is the F sharp minor. You can cross-check in the piano roll. Let's select the A major scale. And we can go back and select the F sharp minor. You see that all the notes of the A major scale fit into the F sharp minor scale. So you can now rename the sample as F sharp minor. Now from a minor to another minor key becomes a lot more easier to work with. Still, if I play it, it will sound funny. So it's either we change one of the keys to be F sharp minor or D minor. So let's change the D minor to F sharp minor. If you look at the keyboard from D, you may have to move 4 semitones upwards to get to F sharp. Or if you want to detune the sample, you just move 8 semitones downwards to get to F sharp. Going downwards will just detune the sample, and you may want to leave space for bass frequencies. it's only logical to go 4 semitones up. So plus 400 cents equals 4 semitones up in FL Studio. Now here's our sample that fit together, so you can just rename it as F sharp minor. To conclude, the piano keyboard is made up of 12 sets of notes, consisting of 2 sets of black notes, a big jump, and then 3 sets of black notes. And this repeats throughout the entire keyboard. Intervals are the distance between notes. A step from one note to another note makes it a semitone. A whole step from one note to the other makes it a tone. And we can use this theory to construct the major and minor scale using these simple formulas. Lastly, relative scale are the relationship between the major and minor. If scales are relative to each other, they share the same note in a scale. From a major to minor scale, we just transpose it 3 semitones downwards. And the opposite is true from minor to major. We move 3 semitones upwards from the minor scale to transpose it to the major scale. That will be all for this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll look at basic chords.